Welcome back. We're here with part 2 with Gordon, telling us about all the wonderful stabs, and this one's the most important one of all. So, if you want drama, here it is. All right. So where we left off, we were going to the spring 1906, and you had alluded to a stab.
Yeah, so it's not this turn, but this is kind of like the prelude to it, with Spedia retreating to Eastern Med. So, like I was saying, towards the end of last episode, the whole time during the AR, like, Ed's kind of in this advantageous position over me. I'm kind of like looking for a chance to wriggle out of it or get some advantage where I can, but he's being a good negotiator and like making sure that he stays in dominant position. I had been pitched a lot by like Germany and Italy to like back off of them and go after Ed over the last like 3 years at this point. But with me being so committed in Italy, I thought that it would be difficult for me to like give up the dot in Venice, presumably, and then stab Ed. And then like, if Italy's ever researching where does Italy go, probably after me. So I didn't like those pitches as much. I end up in this position where basically it's me, France, and Ed now. Spedia makes this pitch where he retreats Eastern Med, and we do what happens in the fall, and that's initially very attractive to me. So I say sure. At this point, I'm not really committed, right? Because I built a fleet in Trieste, I can say sure. And if he retreats Eastern Med, I mean, now I can walk into Tunis. Like, if I want to stick with Ed, this is always correct for me. So at this point, I haven't really mentally committed either way. I just said sure because I knew that I basically wanted to say sure no matter what. Otherwise, things go pretty well. Ed is really focused on Ruhr here because that's the key to getting over the line. So he wants to do a support into Ruhr, which makes sense to me. I was in conversations with France already at this point, expecting the stab to happen in the fall. And I knew he was working with Germany here. And we were kind of communicating at this point. I forget exactly what the nature of our communication was, but I'm pretty sure he and I both knew that this was going to happen with us bouncing in Ruhr. Mm-hmm. I did not expect him to not go to Burgundy here. Otherwise, I might have been really tempted to walk in. And I was a little nervous initially because I was concerned that Ed would see that France didn't go to Burgundy and be like, wait, did France know what was going on with Ruhr? Is that suspicious at all? But he might have been a little suspicious, but he wasn't suspicious enough to read too much into it, which is good. And otherwise, I mean, England is helping Russia into North Sea, which is kind of accelerating my fears, honestly. Like with England on Russia's side, it seems like he's going to get an even better position in the north than he already had. Khan is still kind of just hanging around for Ed to take. And like, this is looking pretty scary at this point. Like, he's on a lot of dots. Is going to be virtually unstoppable once he takes Khan, frankly. And really, really difficult. So at this point, I'm kind of thinking, this is make or break. Like, if I take Italy's dots here, I'm going to have a really hard time ever stabbing Ed, basically. And he's always going to have position on me. So, yeah.
Going into the fall.
So going into the fall, this is kind of the dramatic turn. I mean, this was the initial pitch that Spedia made to me. Mm-hmm. So why do I do this? I mean, so it's all the reasons I said earlier. I think like what Ed wanted to do is race, right? So he wanted to have me go to Tunis, take some Italian dots and then just race against France. And, the race actually became better for me because Italy, unbeknownst to Ed, is actually backing out of Rome here and I get Rome for free, right? So like I'm actually getting an advantage going to the race. Okay. So why isn't this race attractive to me? I think there are like a lot of reasons. I think the primary one is that Ed has an easy, well, I don't know. There are a lot of reasons. Ed, first of all, has up 2 dots. So, I mean, he just starts with an advantage right there. I think his path is easier. I don't know exactly how many dots I have right now. I think it's like, I think once I take Tunis.
I think you guys are tied at 10.
At 9?
9. Oh, he's 11. You're at 9, I think.
Yeah. So Ed's up 2 on me. I think once I take Rome, Naples, and Tunis, assuming I'm holding Munich and Caen, I think I'm at 12. Iberia is 15, but I'm actually losing Caen, so this is actually 14. This is a very optimistic scenario here. Like, I've already taken all of Iberia. I'm at
It's actually the
14.
center count right in front of us.
Where? No, that graph is the end game position. That's
But no,
fine.
above it, it tells you where you're at 9 and 11, right?
Hey, look at that. That's really helpful. Okay. So, assuming I take all of Iberia, which is optimistic, that's 14. Paris is 15. After that, it gets like very, very difficult for me to find like any builds. That's one dynamic that's going on with Ed already up 2 in the race. The other dynamic that's going on is I've been in conversation with France this entire time about this stab. France can't work with Ed because Ed is gonna fucking solo if like France decides to throw in with Ed here. So France needs me to stab Ed to have a chance at this game. Right now, I think I have a better relationship with France than Ed does. However, I think that if I continue to race Ed against France, slowly France's opinion is going to turn to Ed because I'm the one that can do something about their current predicament and I'm the one who's not doing it. And I think that's a problematic dynamic for me because it also means that when disbands come up, Mordio is going to be more likely to disband in the north. It means that when it comes to defending Iberia or defending England, he's more likely to defend Iberia. That also makes the race harder. So I think it's just like, and then also none of this is taking into account that Ed is virtually unstabbable and can stab me. So I think the race is like extremely unfavorable to me. Maybe even like impossible to win. So I don't want to race.
I think we all said that this was a pretty good stab.
Yeah. People have different
Even
opinions.
though Ed says it was a horrible stab, but I think he's partial.
Ed definitely has, it's impossible to escape human bias. However, at the same time, I think he has a point. France is in a good position here. And if I'm going full throttle against Ed, I've already stabbed him once. This is the second stab. At some point, not right now, but at some point, if I continue to stab, I'm going to be taking him out of contention. And he's going to throw to France. Like, that's just what's going to happen.
That's what we had said. The stab was good, but the full throttle committal afterwards was the problem. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I have like legitimately like 5 options maybe in this position that are all. This is an extremely rich game as a whole. This position is extremely rich. So I think one option is race with Ed. That's probably bad. Okay. Another option is like half-heartedly stab Ed. So, kind of like go to Galicia, don't do the convoy maybe, take Romania, take Tunis, and then kind of like take Romania, swap it with Khan, and then try to sit on the Italian dots, Munich, Romania, Bulgaria, Greece. I think that's 12. And just kind of sit on that and be like, okay, that's all I'm taking, I promise. I think the problem there is, that's still a vulnerable 12, right? Like Munich is very vulnerable in that position. In that position, I kind of pissed off both France and Russia, but not all the way. Like I didn't commit to a stab against Ed, which is going to make France unhappy. But, I kind of stabbed him, so it'll make France not as unhappy as he could have been. And I kind of did stab Ed for a second time, so he'll be unhappy. But I didn't stab him all the way, so he won't be especially once he sees that Italy put in the convoy order, like presumably me not convoying Italy would make Ed a little like relieved, but I still stabbed him. So
I think the convoy was great. You want to make Italy his problem. He's obviously tried to make Italy your problem. And
the convoy is amazing tactically and maybe even strategically. It's really rough diplomatically because it helps commit me to stabbing Ed, first of all. Second of all, Ed and Spedio are kind of in this like death feud right now. So I have basically, the way Ed is spinning this, and it's a fair spin, honestly, is I asked Ed to take Smyrnia so that I could go into Ionian uncontested. And now that has resulted in Ed and Spedio, like not my intention, but it resulted in them getting this huge blow up. And now I'm taking advantage of that blow up to convoy Italy to Syria. Like that's not great from a diplomatic perspective. So I can be on those 12 and hold it. That might have been my best chance. And then just like try to play the 3-way from there. But I am kind of half pissing off France and Russia by doing that. One option is to do what I did, which is like reasonable. Another option is to move Munich to Burgundy here. So I didn't know that Burgundy would be open. I would say that my read was like 65% chance to open. So if I really want to race Ed, I can. The plan was for him to support me to Ruhr, I believe. I can tell him that I think Burgundy is going to be open. Maybe I don't tell him that and I just move in anyway, and hope that I get in, and that makes the race more viable. Maybe so. That's one option, because then I'm in Burgundy. I can move Tyrolia to Piedmont on the same turn, and suddenly, like, that's compromising for France. Or I can do that and stab Ed at the same time, expecting that once I move into Burgundy, Ed is going to be concerned about my position and stab me. So just getting position on him. And there's a lot of diplomatic options there. So this is like an incredibly rich position. I think I also fucked up the way I actually implemented this stab, because I ended up supporting Baltic into Berlin here, which I think was just a straight up mistake. I really considered moving to Silesia here, just for position on Warsaw. I think the reason this is a mistake is because it gives Ed, first of all, the opportunity to move to Silesia, which is a helpful province. It also helps him get leverage, because now he disbands Norwegian. And I initially thought that he was going to disband Sweden, which would have been a more neutral move, but I kind of just underestimated Ed, frankly. I knew that once this stab happened, I was going to have throw threats, and that I'd have to manage that diplomatically. I was not expecting it to come so quickly. And Ed played the pressure game really well, frankly. Like, all props to him. So I shouldn't have done that. I should have just moved to Silesia, and that makes it harder for him to get his armies back in time. And it doesn't let him disband the Northern Fleet, which gives me more ability in the future to kind of back off of Ed and let him keep a strong northern position without him being like completely compromised to the extent where he has to throw. So these are all options for me. I ended up going with this one. Frankly, I think I overestimated the stab a little. Because when me and France were talking about this, France is like, okay, yeah, like I'm willing to do this, but like I'm a little concerned about my odds in the race. Frankly, I think you're ahead. And like I kind of looking at the position, I mean, like I think I'm up a couple dots on France after this stab, and like I have more ahead of me. It seems very intuitive. I have Naples and maybe like Tunis ahead of me. I've got Romania. I've got like the Turkish. Like it seems intuitive that I would be ahead in this race. I think the problem is I underestimated how much. First of all, having Germany as like a quasi vassal is very helpful to France. Second of all, having Ed be willing to have Ed be willing to very aggressively show me that France is going to win if I don't take my foot off the gas. I underestimated the extent to which Ed was willing to do that, which also made me underestimate the extent of like the pace of France's growth. And as a result of these negotiations with France, I'm like, okay, you can move into the Tyrrhenian Sea so that you can take Tunis, like guaranteed. Like that's your dot. Like, I'm ahead in the race, so that I'm gonna throw you a bone on that one. That was just a mistake. Like I should have really insisted on that unit not being there so that I could take Tunis, because I should have known that Ed was gonna do this more aggressively. And that one French fleet causes me so many headaches later in the game. It was a massive mistake to give France. France needs me right now. Like I have a lot of leverage over France, and I really should have used that in this position to make demands, but I didn't. So yeah, this happens. It is very debatable how good the stab is. What may be more debatable, what may be more dubious than the actual stab is like my execution of it later, where I really commit to it.
Is there a reason why you guys chose Berlin over Kiel?
We thought that once we take Berlin, Kiel will be easier to take because it's surrounded by hostile units, whereas Berlin is more easily defendable. Frankly, this was another room. Like, if I'm going to take something, I probably should have taken Kiel, because then Berlin is merging to Silesia, and I have better position.
You blow it up. Yeah.
But I was thinking in terms of, see, that's my problem. I'm too much of a, I want what the board wants. I don't want what I want. I'm just trying to help everyone. It's just, my fatal flaw. No, this was just a position where like I could have been a little more selfish than I should.
So you actually go up one. Ed goes down one because he gets a lot of guesses, right? And France goes up one.
And he disbands Norwegian, which I was not expecting. And this is where my heart starts to sink a little bit. I'm like, oh. I mean, at least Italy follows through on like disbanding Naples, so like that went well for me. But and then France also builds an army in Marseille. He's like, yeah, I got to keep head on side. So now my conversations with France are becoming a little more frantic, because I'm like, oh my god, like Ed is actually going to throw to you. This is a problem. I'm not winning this race, because now I'm projecting, right? And I'm projecting a world where it seems like Romania, Sevastopol, the Turkish dots, Naples, and maybe Tunis are takeable by me. However, if Ed really commits to making a line in Warsaw and Moscow, he can do that. And that's a big problem for me, because if I start taking all of those other dots and Ed forms a line in Warsaw and Moscow, I've ruined Ed's game, and France has the ability to take enough dots to make it to at least 17, maybe 18. So that's a big problem. And I'm telling this to France, and I'm like, look, dude, we can't break up here because the race is unbalanced. And to his credit, Mordio is very willing to make inefficient moves to balance the race. At least that's what his press is saying. He's basically saying, look, I'm willing to slow down a little. Right now, Ed is offering me a convoy into Norway. I won't take it because I know that if I do, you're going to back off of Ed because the race isn't going to be working for you. So I think that was very smart of Mordio, because it made me more confident that I could win this race, when it's dubious how true that is. Yeah. So he built an army Marseille kind of to placate Ed, because at this point Ed, from what I hear from Mordio, and you'll have to ask him what the actual truth was, but from what I'm hearing from Mordio, their press is basically like Ed saying, look, dude, I want to throw to you, but you have to earn it, you have to go after Austria here and earn it. And I think that was Ed's way of trying to foment conflict between me and Mordio so that I'd back off, which is, what he should be doing. But Mordio kind of feels the need to play along to some extent, so he tells me he's going to build Army Marseille, but that he's not going to move to Piedmont or anything like that. And I believe him, because frankly, it's probably strategic of him to go for Burr anyway, because he wants Ruhr and Belgium to be taking dots, and he doesn't want to leave Burgundy open to me. So I think it's intuitive that this would be the case.
Going into 1907, you press your attack.
And I press it in a specific way. I had a choice here on prioritizing the Turkish dots or the line on Warsaw and Moscow. I decided to prioritize the line. And my theory here is that if it works, it works. And if I take Warsaw and Moscow, then I don't have the problem anymore that I was talking about earlier. Because if I take Warsaw and Moscow and Tunis, which I negotiate with France here that I can take it, I have a line. I can actually just form a straight up line, and I have tie break. 17-17 means I win. Great. So I tell Spedio to move to Armenia. He does. And we do this order set, which is kind of designed to be maximally aggressive towards Warsaw and Moscow. And this way, if I get Warsaw and Moscow, then I'm happy to keep racing Mordio. And if I don't, because I didn't prioritize taking the Turkish dots off of Ed, it gives me more flexibility to back off later and still give Ed a viable position, is my theory here. If another theory is working decently well, I mean, Ed could have thrown, not quasi, it's weird. I don't know. The whole quasi throw thing is weird. But Ed doesn't threaten me maximally because he bounces France out of Norwegian Sea. He's clearly still trying to win to some extent. Right. Mordio doesn't take a convoy into Norway, which is great. I don't know if that was actually on the table, to be clear. That's what Mordio told me. And I think it's plausible based on the way Ed was trying to get me back off. I make a misguess here. I didn't think that Ed would be taking Berlin, and I didn't think that Silesia would be willingly vacating to Warsaw. I thought that it was plausible that Prussia would be going to Warsaw, so that Silesia could stay there. So I decided to force Silesia this way, which unfortunately lets Ed into Munich, which I was not expecting at all. And France said he also wasn't expecting. I didn't tell France my moves, obviously, so I'm inclined to believe this. He said he wouldn't help Ed into Munich, and I didn't think that Ed would go to Munich without help. And I didn't tell anyone my moves, so I think Ed kind of just got lucky here, or intuited that I would do this, and made a nice play.
I think he was just trying to make sure that he got Berlin, so it's just breaking support just in case you held Germany.
I didn't even think about that. That would be kind of brutal, honestly. But yeah, I didn't think Ed would be taking Berlin. I mean, he told me after this move that the reason he has Berlin is to show me that he's not just throwing against me. He wants to work with me, and this is him putting himself in a position where he can be valuable to me, basically. I think that's true to some extent. I also think for him to have a chance of winning here, he needs dots, and that's a dot, so makes sense. and France is like behaving. Like he takes Holland, he goes to Burgundy, he lets me into Tunis, which is nice. I say lets me to Tunis. I mean, he did insist on bouncing Ionians so that I couldn't bring my fleets westward. And if we were to gunboat this, if I were to say, look, I'm gonna try for Tunis, like he has a 50-50, he can do this, or he can go to Tunis and risk me going to the Tyrrhenian Sea and Naples. So I'm not sure this was actually like the most stellar negotiation on my part or anything, but this is what we do. And with respect to the guesses in the south, I mean, I could talk about the tactics of this position for a long time. I spent hours looking at these positions, and they were very complicated.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah. But basically, we brace in Turkey, and he slips into Bulgaria, which I'm actually kind of fine with because it makes the tactics around Sevastopol easier because I don't have to worry about Black Sea. So, yeah. And then this is the turn where it all goes wrong.
Very wrong. I was like, going into Jeff's interview, he's like, the goal is to pressure the core and leave Anatolia for later. And then it looks like you guys do not leave Anatolia for later.
Yeah, so I stared at this position for hours, like legitimately, because this is like one of the richest positions I've ever had in a game of diplomacy. And it's mostly tactics, but it's tactics that are infused in a very cool way with like me trying to read what Ed's up to here. Because Ed taking Berlin was very unexpected to me. And last move he bounced Norwegian Sea. These things combined suggesting that Ed is still really trying to win. Like he is threatening me with a throw to Mordio, but like really doesn't want to do it, and is going to put himself in a position where he can win. Mm-hmm. Okay. The other thing I'm making a guess on here is he has a guess on Warsaw here, right? He can either do this thing where he braces or he can tap Silesia. He really doesn't want to guess wrong on those. Not just because he loses Warsaw, but also because if he tries to brace and I move Galicia to Warsaw, then Warsaw can't retreat to Livonia, and Moscow falls really quickly. And if he tries to tap Silesia, and I go in with Silesia, then he might walk out of Munich or Berlin. So I'm thinking, okay, he probably doesn't want to make either of those guesses unless he has to. I'm also noticing that he kind of has a choice here. He can use Moscow to guard Warsaw on one of the guesses. He can either support it or tap Ukraine or whatever, or he can use Moscow to guard Sevastopol. Yep. And I'm thinking, what I basically come to there's a lot of thought that goes into this, but what I basically come to after a couple hours is like, if he wants dots, and Francis comes to me like more concerned about my position here. Like initially he was very willing to like help me to make the race more even, and now his tone is like, oh my god, you're crashing the line, like I have to worry about Warsaw and Moscow. So I'm thinking that their play here is probably going to be to give Ed a lot of dots. And he can take, he's already in Berlin and Munich. He can take Denmark. They could maybe even put him into Kiel here and just take a lot of dots. And I was thinking, okay, Ed doesn't want to make a guess on Warsaw. And Moscow can do one of two productive things. It can help guard Warsaw on a 50-50, or it can just tap Sevastopol. And tapping Sevastopol is likely to work because, like, is likely to bounce a unit out. Because it's hard for me to afford spending the units on tapping Sevastopol and taking Warsaw with support. Yep. So I'm thinking, okay, his most likely moveset is tap Sevastopol, because either way, because that's like more of a guarantee on keeping a dot, whereas Warsaw's a 50-50, and if he gets it wrong, it's really bad for him. And if he keeps Warsaw clear, it's very likely that one of Armenia and Romania go into Sevastopol from his perspective. If he keeps it clear and he's in Munich, Berlin, Kiel, and Denmark, he can build in Sevastopol and really slow my advance down.
Right.
So I'm thinking he's likely to move to Sevastopol, and I can slip in behind to Moscow and then make a read on Warsaw, basically. And if I get that right, then it's like virtually winning. And my other theory is that if I get it wrong, again, I haven't really taken that many dots off of Ed, and he's still in a viable position, I can back off and say my fault. And he's not in a position where he is forced to throw to France.
Are you working with Jeff through these tactics?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. And that was
the mistake. Because Ed said that Jeff told France and France told him. That's why he got these guesses right.
To some extent, I have to work with Jeff on these tactics because, like, if I want to get into Moscow, I don't want Jeff tapping Sevastopol, right? To some extent. And we need to coordinate about what we're doing in Turkey. So, like, to some extent, I have to tell him a little bit of what I'm doing. But frankly, I made a lot of mistakes here. I didn't tell him all of what I was doing, first of all. Second of all, I mean, he told me when I built that second fleet in Trieste, I'm going to throw against you, like, whatever you do, I'm going to throw against you. And then he made it up with me later after this huge fight with Ed, and I kind of bought it. But, like, I should have been a lot more suspicious of his intentions. Frankly, I could have just lied to him about my moves, hoping that he would leak the false moves to France and to Russia. And that would have been really genius of me, frankly. That would have been so sick. But I am very trusting of Spedio at this point. I mean, he got me good, like, frankly. Because, you know, at this point he had done everything I asked him to. He gave up all of his home centers to me. He moved to Armenia. And I thought, even if he prefers France to win over me, he is not going to do anything to risk Ed getting back in this game. And I trusted that to be like my assurance that he wasn't going to leak. And that was the wrong read. I mean, he wanted France to win enough that he was willing to at least risk a small percentage of Ed getting back in the game. I think he was also a little frustrated with how France handled the leaks to Ed, because I think he wanted France to leak a little more selectively than France actually did. But France was in another call with Ed in the last 20 minutes, and, you know, Ed got the information. I don't know if this is actually true. What France told me is that after this turn is that Ed had his orders in to go to Sevastopol and to miss the guest on Warsaw. So I would have gotten into Warsaw and Moscow. And he was like, I can't allow that to happen. So he leaked it. I don't know if that's actually true. If it is, that's super brutal. But yeah, this goes very, very poorly for me. And
how do you feel about this Norway army?
Yeah, he also this is the nail in the coffin. Like, he goes and convoys France into Norway. France takes it and justifies it to me by saying, "Look, I thought you were getting into Warsaw and Moscow with, like, moves into Sevastopol. Like, I needed to." Unironically,
he leaked it, so I didn't think that at all.
Yes, but if what he told me is that he didn't trust Spedio's information 100%, and thought that it might be a play to get Ed to misguess, basically. So he still needed to do this because the army in Norway can go to St. Petersburg and defend the line, basically, is the idea. So that if Ed wants to throw against me, he has to convoy to Norway eventually to help hold the line, basically. So anyway, this is about as catastrophic as it gets. And at this point, I am just like, to Ed, I'm like, okay. The one good thing that happens here is Ed gets the read so completely that he's still viable, which means that he's not forced to throw to France and I can still back off. So I back off.
You build the fleet here. It looks like you're on board with the AR again.
I am. I mean, I have to be, otherwise I just lose to the throne. So yeah, Ed says he's voting in Sevastopol because he doesn't trust me, and I'm like, yep, fair enough. I'm gonna take the L here. I'm gonna do whatever you want, basically. So yeah. And, you know, I mean, to some extent it works. To some extent it doesn't. So Ed stabs France for kill. Great. I round up this French fleet in Ionian. Great. Okay. Ed and I apparently disagree on the version of events here. Ed and I were in a call, and I say we should swap Bulgaria and Romania. He's like, yes. And I say, okay, I'm going to move to Serbia. You move Bulgaria to Romania, and I'll take it in full. And the way I remember this call going is he said yes to that. And then we were talking about his northern units, and I was like, dude, I don't even want to know what you're doing with your northern units. Like, I don't want the temptation to stab you. I'm backing off. Do what you're going to do with your northern units. After this turn, said he heard from me, instead of like Bulgaria should go to Romania, he heard the do whatever you want with your units and assumed that it was with all of his units, and that he could go to Black Sea and move Sevastopol to Romania. I interpret this because of how I thought the conversation went. Are you still there?
Was that?
No, sorry, you just disconnected on my computer for a second.
You paused on one.
Okay. I thought because of how that conversation went, this was a micro stab by Ed, where he was like, "I'm gonna stab you on your way out, but you can't really do anything about it because of the position." Um, and I was a little like annoyed about that, but like whatever, not the end of the world. So yeah, this turn went good. I mean, I'm not feeling like amazing about my chances here, but this turn went well for me in the sense that like it wasn't immediately over.
Definitely. I thought it was a good turn for the most part. It's one of the bad things about phone calls is that you don't have anything written to back up to say, hey, this is exactly what was said. And usually it's the press that's the problem because there's no intention or inflection in your voice. So you can be taken differently. But if you have a selective memory in voice, there's no papers. There's no paper trail.
I generally just heard that differently, which is really unfortunate. And it's not the last miscommunication Ed and I will have, unfortunately.
So going into the fall, you decide that you're going to take Romania?
This was just stupid. Like I think the first stab I did is justifiable. The second stab I did is justifiable. This one is just like completely boneheaded. So basically, France and I agree that France is going to retreat to Greece to make Ed's tactics a little harder around like Bulgaria and stuff like that, because I can like with complete plausible deniability take Greece, and Ed has to cover Bulgaria because of the French retreat. And it helps me blow it up. So I'm like, yes, that sounds great. And then France is upset that Ed has stabbed him for kill. And, France said he was expecting a throw and was like a little peeved off about this. So Ed and I are discussing what to do here. And, there's some early agreement that we kind of want to like balance out our position a little bit. Like disentangle this mess that is currently going on around Turkey. France wants me to just like attack Ed. So I'm trying to appease both, and I'm talking with Ed, and we are discussing how to do this. He's initially pitching that I should take Smyrna. He takes Ankara, and we bounce in Bulgaria. So he still takes Romania, and we leave Bulgaria Russian, which like I wasn't initially the biggest fan of because like we had discussed about like swapping Romania for Bulgaria, but like I kind of acknowledge that like Ed's in the driver's seat here, and frankly, I mean he does have one or two fleets in the north to Mordio's 3 and Mordio's in Norway, so I can kind of acknowledge that Ed's position is a little fragile here and that he might need some help north against France. So I'm not initially like super opposed to it. And then Ed says something to the effect, we again remember this differently, but Ed says something to the effect of like, I would also respect it if you just said, let's gunboat it, and we resolved it that way. And I heard that, and I thought, oh, Ed is okay with gunboating this year and then making it up next year. And what he meant by that is, rather than you just attacking me and lying to me, I would respect you more if you told me
Does not talk to me at all.
I'm still gonna throw to France if you do that.
Yeah.
That was not clear to me. So I'm like, okay, I'll think about it. Then I message him the next day, around like noon or something. I don't know. And I'm like, let's gunboat it. And he says, okay. And I'm like, okay, great. So I tell France, we're on. Like, I'll attack Ed, sure, because he's apparently okay with it. So I'm like, yeah, we'll make some attacks on Romania. You can like make him guess on Bulgaria. We'll attack Khan. Like, great, everything's great. And Ed is also offering me Munich as part of this, and he's fine with me accepting French support into Munich. So like that's fine. Then Ed calls me with, I don't know, 20 minutes left, something like that, 15 minutes, I don't know. And he's like, I really hope we can work this out. Like, if you attack me here, France is going to win. And I was like, I thought you were okay with this. And he's like, well, I said I respect you, but we did this whole thing where like we were going back and forth. And I now realize that Ed is not okay with gunboating. And the time is ticking down. And Mordio keeps coming to me. This is a very successful diplomatic play on his part. And he's like, dude, I'm frustrated with the fact that like Ed keeps coming to both of us with these last minute phone calls and making it so that we can never make a deal. Like, we can't just keep letting Ed get away with this, basically. And I'm also kind of reflecting at this point on like the history of the game and how I should have been more assertive earlier in the alliance and really advocated for my needs. And, I was concerned that basically Ed was saying, if you attack me, I'll throw to Mordio. And I was like, well, I don't want you to throw Mordio. And he was like, if you're working with me, I need you to tell me Mordio's moves. Like, what is his plan here? And I was like, internally panicking because I'm like, this is just the situation with Germany all over again. If I tell Ed Mordio's moves, Ed's going to go to Mordio and be like, Austria told me your moves. And then somehow Ed's going to end up with like 4 dots and then I'm going to like lose. Because right now Ed's in Kiel. He has a play on Norway. He can guarantee Norway by supporting North Sea and tapping St. Petersburg. He's in Romania and he can take Ankara, right? A bit of a thorny situation for me. Theoretically, he can go up a lot of units here, especially if he pulls some bullshit with France. Now, to Ed's point, and another reason I was stupid here, Ed really doesn't want to take Norway by force because then he loses position in Norwegian and North Sea, and Mordia retreats to Finland, which is a really awkward position for Ed to be in with 4 turns left in the game. And I kind of bought that. So I didn't actually think he would be taking Norway here. But it was very jarring for me to go from like Ed being okay with us gunboating it to Ed now saying that he would throw to France if we gunboated it. And I had already committed to France that we were doing this at this point. So to go back and do another thing with Ed would be to stab France here, which would have been very awkward in a 3-way race. And frankly, like I didn't want to let Ed do another 20-minute call, push me around and get me to like back out of my own interest and lose me the game, basically. So all this is swirling around in my head, and I'm a little pissed off of this conversation that happened earlier. And I'm like, look, Ed, like I'm willing to work this out with you after this turn, and get you back in a position where like you can play the game. But like, I don't think this is like a throw threat that I can like, capitulate to, basically. And he said, okay. And then this happened, and he threw. So this was just a mistake. Like,
yeah.
My negotiations with Ed before this were like, look, if you take Smyrna here, and I take Ankara and stuff like that, Ed acknowledges that I don't have like the best chance in the world to win the game, and I think he kind of undersold my chances a little bit, maybe like, because he was basically saying like, look, I acknowledge that your chances are low. Basically, you only win if I throw to you. And I was like, well, you're never throwing to me, so like, why am I doing this? Because if Ed, first we can't coin flip, right? Like that's like against the rules. And if Ed can throw to me for me to win the game, it's always going to be the case that I can also throw to Ed for Ed to win the game. And I just don't think Ed's the kind of player that would throw to me in that kind of circumstance, especially when I'm the one who stabbed him like 3 times during the game. I think Ed's the kind of player who would say, I'm the one who should be thrown to. Like I just
right.
So I didn't think my odds were great based on the way that we were having those conversations. Looking at it now, though, I mean, like it's not that bad, honestly. Like if I just take Smyrna here, I take Greece, we bounce in Bulgaria, we do everything Ed agreed to. Ed and I had initially like said was okay. I mean, Smyrna is safe. Bulgaria and Khan are vulnerable dots in the long term. And this position is always awkward for me because the minute I take either Bulgaria or Khan, Ed throws to Mordio, basically, because I've ruined his winning chances. But if I can, finagle my way to making it so that it's fall of 1910 and I can take Bulgaria and make it so there's no time to throw, then I have a theoretical path to winning the game. It's really tricky for Ed to... He can't throw to Mordio if I take Smyrna and he takes Ankara and stuff like that. Like I just did everything he wanted to. And it's really difficult, I think, for Ed to move forward wanting to win the game, which he does, while also like making it so that Bulgaria and Khan are safe, basically. So I'm not sure it would have been like advantage Austria or anything like that, but I think I actually have like the existence of winning chances here. If I just do what I should have done, essentially with no like, other fleet pressure, really.
You're saying that this season stick with Ed's plan and just play neutral?
I should have just stuck with Ed. And like if I had the season over, I would have said, like my big mistake was going from I need to worry about Ed keeping Munich, keeping Kiel, keeping Norway, keeping Romania, keeping Ankara. I needed to flip and him being okay with me gunboating. I need to recognize faster once he told me he wasn't okay with that and he was going to throw to Mordio. I needed to recognize how bad his position was in the north because his position is really bad in the north. Like if I actually gunboat him here, even if he doesn't let Mordio into St. Petersburg like this, if he taps St. Petersburg, he's still losing Denmark and Sweden at least, and he has no chance to win the game if I don't let him build. So I didn't recognize that in the time pressure. Like this conversation got decently heated because Ed was really frustrated at me, which is fair. Honestly.
Well, he should have never offered something that was against his best interest either. Why would he even suggest a gunboat?
Well, it was a miscommunication. He didn't really offer it. He said he'd respect me more, which that's what he. That's what. Okay, so this was the other thing. Like I was very confused in the moment because I was like, why'd you say that if like you didn't want to do it? Now hearing his interview and hearing him talk after the game, like he had no reason to like misrepresent what he meant anymore. Really, like I think he just legitimately meant I'd respect you more, but I'm still going to throw Mordio.
It's like I just want you to be honest, so I know if I should throw. You could have lied to him, and then he wouldn't have thrown immediately. You'd have an extra season.
Still lose to the throw, right? Like there's no way I'm outpacing France here, so there's no reason for me to lie. But it's just the silliest reason for me to. It's like it's just so stupid that this great game ends that way. I don't think it's really either or fault. It was just an honest miscommunication, which happens sometimes. But yeah, I mean, that's how the game ends, unfortunately. After this, it's just a throw to Mordio.
And then you have your build. It looks like he is France's 3 centers above you. Not much really you can pick up. Maybe Bulgaria and Smyrna, and Francis has a lot more growth. And you guys just agree to draw it at that.
Yeah, basically. So yeah, unfortunate ending to the game. But it was fun.
I actually have a lot more respect to your play. I think you just had a couple of times where you had critical decisions to make, or you had to advocate for yourself, and those are really good learning.
It's a lot of small things, honestly. I think, ironically, this is going to sound kind of laughable, but based on the way I played this game, I think it was just that I was not ruthless enough, which is crazy because I stabbed like 10 people. But I think it's ruthless in a different way. I think I psychologically am very willing to be ruthless when it comes to stabbing someone, but I'm also I am like loath to lie to someone after I stab them that I'm going to do anything. Once I stab someone, I almost always tell them I'm going to keep attacking you, and if I want to keep attacking them, because I found that people find that honesty. That's how I won my semi game. Like it was me in Italy, Josh in England, and Sammy in Russia. We were all attacking Nicolas in France, and I told him I'm attacking you, and they apparently didn't. And he's like, "I'll throw to you because you were at least honest with me." And that's basically how I won my semis game. I find that people are often willing to work with you because they can understand you lying about a stab, but are more vengeful if you then lie to them again about like backing off when you're actually just trying to take advantage of them more. However, I think there are some cases where that principle needs to be broken, and I could have done that a lot this game and gotten away with it. I could have been more ruthless in my negotiation with Ed and Mordio, but I also could have like just told Ezio that I wanted to attack Russia and gotten him to convoy to Livonia on the turn that I made the AR happen, and that would have been like Ezio would have told Ed I did that because Austria told me to, and I could have just said I have no idea what you're talking about. I didn't tell you. That's just Ezio bullshitting you. And I could have played that game, and I probably should have because then Ed wouldn't have been in such a dominant position.
You've been in the back foot, yeah.
But I didn't trust my diplomatic game well enough to break the principle of like honesty, basically. And I think there are moments like that, and there are moments where I could have just negotiated better. And because it was just a lot of small things, it started from the very beginning. I didn't get tricked into Ionian. There were just a lot of small mistakes that added up over time that made it so that Ed basically got an unstable position 2 centers up on me and forced me into a position where I could either race Ed and lose, stab him and have him throw to France, or like do these weird little micro stabs where I kind of piss both people off and have to play this like really complicated diplomatic game where to say in it. So it just goes to show you that like small mistakes can really add up in a game of diplomacy. And even if your position is like looking reasonable, which it did for a lot of this game, like small mistakes really can make it diplomatically very difficult.
They added up. So you have any criticism for the podcast? Final thoughts for the players or the tournament?
You gave me an A in the year I lost the game. How? No, yeah. You can know the diplomacy, so I don't blame you. I really enjoyed watching all these episodes. Actually, it was very very fun to watch. I've never had my like diplomacy graded by like good players who are giving analysis before, and it was really cool to like see myself as kind of like playing a mini like sports game on like a quasi TV. It was like cool. I really love watching like DVN streams. I kind of do that a lot now. It doesn't sometimes people don't do other things, and having like some of the guests that are on those streams come in and comment on my games was super cool. Like David Hood commenting on my game for even 1 year was like so sick. I was so happy. The criticism for the players? No. I mean, I like everyone who played this game. I mean, Ed and I obviously had our disagreements over the course of this game, which unfortunately culminated in me being on the bad end of a throw. But I don't blame him. I mean, I kind of, earned that with my last turn. And frankly, I really enjoyed the ending of this game, even though it was often stressful. Like Mordio and Ed are great people, and it was just really fun to play with them. Honestly, they're also just really good at the game, but like also just enjoyable to play with. And I think everyone was. Like, I don't even begrudge Spedio really. I mean, like he kind of ruined my game on one center, which is crazy. But like I stabbed him in Fall of 02, and he didn't really do anything wrong, and I kind of ruined his game. So like it's a love. Like I can't really blame you for that. Yeah, at the end of the day. So yeah, no, I like everyone of them.
Is Mordio a worthy winner?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think Ed and Mordio, frankly, played better games than I did this game. If I'm being honest with how I played, I mean, games called Diplomacy and Mordio had the best diplomacy. Like Ed had a really effective diplomatic game going where he was giving low press and then transitioned into this like last 20 minutes like call thing, but it ended up kind of generating some like level of concern and like frustration in me and Mordio, because we both recognized like there was one point where Ed in the last 20 minutes got Mordio to support him in Berlin. There's another moment where Ed in the last 20 minutes got me to go to the heel. And both of the times, I mean, me and Mordio were talking like, "Whoa, what the fuck happened there? Like, we didn't talk this through." And both of the times we were like, "Yeah, Ed called me the last 20 minutes and told me that if I didn't do it, I wasn't gonna get Turkey out of Ionian and I wouldn't advance in the game." And we was like, "Oh, and that's fair, actually. Yeah, like that's very reasonable." I mean, we both ended up kind of just like pointing the blame at Ed more than each other. And Mordio was,
that's where face-to-face comes in handy. We only get 15 minutes to negotiate a turn, so we're kind of used to pitching things hard and trying to get someone to bite when they can't really think about the logical position. So he's leaning on other formats to get him through press.
I'm gonna have to adjust a lot because I'm probably gonna try to play some virtual face-to-face games in the near future, and that's gonna be a big learning curve from press. But I think Mordio is really capable in the end game of basically, I mean, not like he was France, but and like the fundamental nature of being like one Western power versus two Eastern powers is very nice. However, he did a really good job staying on both me and Ed's good side throughout the entire end game, which was very impressive, especially considering like the amount of pressure Ed was putting on him to go after me. He was able to like not go after me, but still keep Ed on side, which is very like cool. And he was also able to like get me, like this is an uncharacteristically stupid move of me to make, I think, this last turn. And that was basically all him. Like he used the leverage really well of like getting that fleet to Ionian and basically saying like, "I'll go to Greece if you attack Ed," and then like got me very locked into this plan that then changed at the last minute. And was able to work those diplomatic channels like really effectively. He like orchestrated a lot of the initial stab where Spedio went to Eastern Med in the first place, and like that was integral to his game. So like he won where it mattered. And I think he stabbed like England the entire game, and that's pretty much it, which is really impressive. So yeah, good.
Well, Gordon, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you playing this top board. You have made it one of the most entertaining to commentate on. A lot of times these kind of grind down and get stale. You kept it fresh every other turn, and I expect better things from you next time. This is good things, and you obviously shown growth over one game, and you've actually shown me that you've actually learned a lot more lessons. So I think you'll be very dangerous your next time around.
Well, I appreciate that. It was very educational for sure. Hopefully one day I'll figure out how to play Austria. Like surely all the alliances can't be bad for Austria, right? Like it has to be.
It's not a bad finish for Austria.
It's not a bad finish, but I don't know. Like, I don't know. Whatever. I think stabbing both Russia and Italy in fall of 1902 cannot be the optimal way to play Austria. Surely, surely. It's okay.
Maybe with just one of them, yeah.
I'll figure it out.
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah.